Hi everybody! I am so excited for writing today because we get to start a brand new unit in our writer's workshop. So that means we wrapped up our persuasive writing unit on Friday. Now remember, if you still have some work to do on editing any of those pieces, that's totally fine. We'll turn in those pieces when we get back to the classroom on January 19th. But today we're going to start an informational text writing unit. So here we go. Informational text is when you are writing facts or information in order to teach someone something that you know. Now, back in November, we did a how-to writing unit where we had to teach someone how to do something. So like if I was really good at making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I could teach someone using steps how to make their own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This unit is a little bit different. In this unit, we're trying to teach facts that we know or that we have researched so that someone else can learn something. We're not trying to teach them how to do something. We're teaching them just information. Now, to start out, you're going to be writing today about something that you're really familiar with. I'm going to show you my example, but my example is something that I spent a lot of time researching and learning and illustrating and putting together. So my example from today is not going to be exactly what you'll produce today. I've written a book called All About Polar Bears. Notice in the title, I wrote All About Polar Bears. That's so that you as the reader know that this book is information that's going to teach you all about something. Here's the picture. I drew some polar bears. And then at the bottom, I wrote by Mrs. Webster because I'm the author of this book. Now, you do not have a cover page in your binder. That's because a cover page is the last thing that we will attach to our books. And I want you to spend a few days writing the actual writing pages before you put a cover page on. We'll add cover pages next week when we get to school. Now, in an information book, sometimes we see a table of contents. So I have that here in my book. I'll quickly go through this. This is another thing. You're not going to do this today. You're not going to add a table of contents for a few more days. So you don't have access to these pages yet either. But in my table of contents, I have on page 1, you'll learn about the skin and fur of a polar bear. On page 2, you'll learn about the coats of a polar bear. Page 3, you'll learn about food. Here are the pictures. On page 4, you'll learn about babies. And on page 5, you'll learn facts about the weight of polar bears. I also have an empty box here that I have not filled in yet. All right, so here's my book about polar bears. It says, polar bears have black skin under their white fur. Their fur is actually hollow, but it looks white on their bodies. Here's my picture of a polar bear, and I used a close-up drawing to show you what their fur looks like if you look at it very, very, very closely, like maybe even under a microscope. And so I drew this close-up and then the arrow pointing there. They have a double coat to keep them warm. One coat is of fat, one is of fur. A polar bear has fur everywhere except on its nose and the pads of it on the ends of its toes. And then I put a little fact here in the picture, and it says polar bear's fat is 4 fingers deep. So if you put your 4 fingers together, that's how thick a polar bear's fat is under their skin. And so this picture is that of the coat of a polar bear, and it's showing like the back of the polar bear. Polar bears eat seals. They break holes in the ice to catch the seals. They use their paws and their weight to break the ice. They wait for the seal to come up for air. Then they catch the seals with their mouths. In the summer, polar bears eat plants when there is nothing else. All right, so this is a page that I drew the picture and wrote the words, but I had so many words and facts for that page, I had to finish writing them on the back here. Next page. They usually have 2 cubs at a time. Sometimes they have 3 cubs, and sometimes they have 1, but that is rare. And then this is called a caption underneath my picture here, and it says, the mother polar bear keeps her cubs warm. The cubs drink milk. So here's a little polar bear den with a mom and her 2 babies. Now this is a page I haven't quite finished yet, and that's okay. I'll work on it as our unit goes on. But the picture shows a polar bear diagram that I have labeled with the different parts of the polar bear. So you can see different things, and we'll talk about all of these things throughout this unit. But you can see different things that I've labeled there. And I wrote, polar bears have short, stocky legs with large claws at the end. Now I can add a few more facts here, and you're going to help me do that. Like I said, this page is not quite finished, so we'll get to work on it together as this unit goes on. Here's my last page. This shows a scale. So this is showing that a polar bear weighs the same as these 10 people. So I'm showing a scale. It's even across here to show that they're the same weight. It says polar bears are strong and amazing animals. 1 adult polar bear weighs about as much as 10 dads. They are the world's largest predators. And again, I'm not quite finished with that page, but that's another thing that we can work on together. Okay, so that was my book. It's not quite done, but it's telling you all about polar bears. Maybe you learned some new facts from that book. Remember, my goal is to teach you information when I'm writing that book, and I'm thinking about my reader and what my reader might find interesting. So I'm putting those facts that I think are interesting and that I think my reader would find interesting in my book. Now, these informational books take a lot of work, and they take many, many days to finish. So today, on day 1, I need you to do 2 things. You're not going to finish a whole book today. First of all, I need you to think about a topic that you know a lot about. Now, I did know a lot about polar bears, but actually I got a lot of information by reading books that have already been published about polar bears. And again, this didn't happen in one day. But I read books like this one. These are real life published books that taught me things about polar bears. So then I could go and put those facts in my book to teach someone else about polar bears. I didn't just copy this book and other books. I learned things and then I put them in my own words here. Your job today is not to go and read a ton of books and get a lot of information. We'll work on that throughout this unit. Your job is to think of something that you already know a lot about. So it does not have to be an animal. It could be that you know a lot about dump trucks already, and you're going to write us an informational book about dump trucks. Or maybe you know a lot about a certain type of food. Or maybe you do know a lot about an animal, and there's an animal that you love and you have a lot of facts about that animal that you're ready to write down. It doesn't really matter what the thing is. It just matters that you know a lot. And the second thing is that you're going to get out a blank piece of paper from your binder and start writing some of those things that you know about dump trucks or food or dinosaurs or zebras or whatever it is, and you're just writing them down on this piece of paper. Will it create a whole book today? No, you are not trying to make an entire book today. You don't have all the pieces to do that, and you don't have enough time to do that. Our goal is just to write some things that you know about your topic on the paper. And then put the paper back in your binder or in your writing folder so that you know where it is for tomorrow when we come back and do another writing lesson. Something really important about this very first page is that you need to make sure you're writing in pencil, because as time goes on, you might move some of the facts that you wrote on that first page onto a different page. Or you might even erase some of the facts because you realize that they're not true and you didn't know that when you first wrote them down. This first page is kind of going to be a work in progress where you'll be writing down some things that you know that are information about a topic. And like I said, they might get moved or erased in the future, and that's okay. Okay, so you're going to do those two things. Your goal is really just to create one page of writing today, and hopefully it will have 3 or 4 sentences on it, because that means that you know a lot about that topic. We will learn all about researching and creating a table of contents and all of that fun stuff as time goes on. I can't wait to read these pages in Seesaw to see what topics you know a lot of information about. I will see you tomorrow for another writing video.